Yo, what is up? It's another episode of the NLW podcast, and oh my goodness, I've just finished watching AEW Revolution, and I really want to talk about it, so that's probably what the bulk of this podcast is going to be. I'm also going to be talking about kind of what I've been working on recently, going to be talking about NLW 102 coming up this Saturday, as well as talking about the date that's been set and the match card for Metal Wrestling. But first of all, like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to NLW Figs, all that good stuff. And also, comment down below those questions you've got. I'll be getting to my question of the week later on in this video, along with the NLW updates and Patreon shoutouts. But we'll start off as we always do with this podcast before I talk about AEW and that show last night or 2 nights ago, depending on when you're listening. It's what I'm working on. So, last week I kind of alluded to working on a show called NLW Ruthless, and this is going to feature some Jax figures, and I've actually got 2 new crowd printouts that I took from WWFfiguration.com. If you've not seen their work, they do a great thread on Instagram where it's kind of taking the WWF style from like 2001 at the time, the figures, the arenas, all of that stuff, and making their own like figure photography fed out of it and whole website and everything. It's really cool. That's WWF Figuration. Like, find them on Instagram. It's a brilliant account. And that's kind of inspired me to start doing this NLW Ruthless series. So, as I was saying last week, it was kind of trying to use the Jax figures to rebook Raw and SmackDown, but in a Ruthless Aggression setting as opposed to a modern setting. Because I felt like the modern rosters at the moment, because they fluctuate so often with all the releases, it's difficult to get something concrete written down, because if you book someone strong like Keith Lee, he could just be released by WWE in real life and it makes your show outdated. So I wasn't having too much fun with that, but I'm hoping that this new series will get the best of both worlds in that respect, and I'll announce more about NLW Ruthless coming soon. In terms of what else I'm working on, I'm also at the moment, I should say, I'm in the process of editing Fight Club for this Wednesday. That's a Cringe God show that they requested on Patreon. They won the contest and their card was voted on by you, the fans, as the best card out there. So I'm very looking forward to you guys seeing that, because a lot of it was their kind of creation. And hopefully next week, I know you'll probably be listening to this, Cringe God, but I'll get you on the podcast and talk for like 5-10 minutes about Fight Club once it's been uploaded and people have seen it. That's definitely something I want to do, have a chat about that, because some really cool creative ideas and I had a lot of fun filming it. So I'll probably get you on the podcast next week. Do remind me though, in case I forget. And what else am I working on? NLW Turbo. I'm going to start filming some matches after I finish this podcast, actually. I'm going to start filming Kushida and Naito. Hopefully, I can get it done for Thursday. If not, it will come after NLW 102. But NLW 102 is my priority, and that will be hopefully uploaded on Saturday. That is the plan at the moment, of course. You may have seen, actually, on my Insta, The Undertaker, my ministry taker, his leg broke off, and I'm devastated, man. Like, I've had this figure for ages. It's so cool. I'm lucky it's not, like, too expensive. It's a decent figure, but at the same time, man, I'm fuming that it took so long and now it's broken. And so half of the match has been filmed with one leg, although you can notice it in some scenes, but not too many. So it'll be interesting to see how obvious it is when I go back and edit it. But as for NLW 102, it's mostly filmed. I've filmed all the in-ring stuff. It's just the backstage segments I need to film now and also kind of edit it together. And it should be ready. And I'm also working on a bunch of NLW Figs videos. I've got my Jax haul coming in. I've got some more figures coming in too. And that brings me on nicely to figure news in the world of wrestling figures. In terms of what I've been buying personally, I've bought a couple of figures, a couple of Legends series over at Rock and Roll Collectibles, and got them for a decent price as well. I'm getting a PCO as well figure, which is pretty cool, as well as a Roosh, so maybe I'll add him to Los Ingobernables on NLW, and also, a couple of fan takeovers. I'll do a video where I kind of show you what I've picked up over the couple of days that I've been kind of searching out new figures, but I am going to kind of slow my roll a little bit on buying toys. But that said, a bad time to be slowing my roll on buying toys, because AEW released some banger photos of their new series coming up soon. So you've got Series 9, where they've released photos of Thunder Rosa, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs. Oh my god, they all look beautiful. Eddie Kingston could use a little bit of work though on that figure, which is a bit of a shame because he was one I was looking forward to. But hey, they also released photos of a CM Punk in the trunks, which looks amazing, but it's a chase figure. Oh no. So even if you did get it by some miracle, you wouldn't want to take out the packaging, which is gutting. You know, that's the only problem with those AEW chase figures, is that they're so rare that you can't really use it. You can only use it as a display, and it's kind of tempting you, you know, haunting you to watch it and have it kind of on the shelf unopened. But yeah, like, there was a bunch of cool figures as well, like a Taz, and then their own version of the Ultimates as well coming out. So you've got like multiple different type designs in a single package. For instance, you've got Cody, Kenny Omega, Malachi Black, Britt Baker, and yeah, so many cool figures released over the past week, including a tribute to Brody Lee, him and his son, -1. And just imagine being that kid, you know, like having your own, I know he's been through some tough stuff, but having your own toy at that age, that would have been my dream. So yeah, such a cool kind of accolade for him. Love the fact that -1 can kind of have that and own that. But yeah, like a lot of really cool figures in the pipeline for AEW. Let's just hope that they continue to knock it out of the park, and hopefully they're a little bit more sturdy than past AEW figures, because I don't know if you know this as well, but my Dax Harwood broke as well, and now I had to buy a replacement for him. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the top half. I might use it as fodder, but yeah, it was a clean break, so no chance of fixing it, unfortunately. Yeah, not a great fan of those FTR figures, I must say, but yeah, I do want to use them in NLW, so I'm going to try my best to do that. So yeah, a bunch of figures I've picked up as well that I'll show in a future video, but that's figure news out of the way. I really want to move on to wrestling news, and boy oh boy, what a card we had for AEW Revolution. I'm going to give my quick thoughts on each of these matches, so I won't kind of dilly-dally on them too much, but yeah, the one thing I will say, probably too long of a show, you know, 5 hours, a little bit excessive, because I started watching it, 10 a.m, and it's like 3 o'clock now that I'm recording this, so it took up a lot of time. But that said, I know I say this all the time about AEW, but it was one of their better shows, and I'm not even joking. It's so good. Like, all the wrestling was fantastic. Even the pre-show, you had Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander. Sorry, that was a great match. You had Hook beating QT Marshall. Again, great showing for Hook. You also had Don Callis returning, teasing Kenny Omega's return, but alas, it wasn't to be. And then the House of Black versus the Death Triangle and Eric Redbeard. That was a really good match as well. I love the House of Black. Brody King is fantastic. Buddy Matthews and Malachi, you know, two of my favourites. And you know what? Eric Redbeard, credit to him, he really held his own in this match and looked really good. Despite, you know, I thought it was a little bit of a random pairing, but that said, I'm 99% sure this is going to be like a one-off, if that, but yeah, still held his own. But as we go into the main card, oh my god, this opener, the crowd was on fire, and this was, I don't know, this might be a hot take. It's either this match or, you know what, screw it, I think this was probably my favourite match of the night. You know, Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho, and I'll say it right now that this is my, I'll say it's, no, I can't, I've got to save it for another one, but I'll tell you my match of the week later on in this video. But yeah, Eddie Kingston beating Chris Jericho, what a result for Eddie. And this matchup, like, probably I know it's not the best match on the card, but it was my favourite personally, just because of how hot the crowd was, how intense it was. Eddie Kingston pulling out all the stops, dropping Jericho on his head to start, the intensity. Oh, dude, the fact that Eddie Kingston hasn't had a run in a big company yet, apart from now, is just criminal, man. Like, he is so good, and he's so over. Give him the world title, man. He's so cool. Like, Eddie Kingston, on fire. I'm so glad he beat Jericho. And Jericho as well, doing some better work recently, playing up to the heel role in this matchup. It only went just over like 10 minutes, but yeah, a great opener. And then the tag team title match, oh my god. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, they are fantastic. Forget what I said last week about their tag title run being lackluster. This match was awesome. The Young Bucks, Red Dragon, such, you know, different styles in this one, because the Young Bucks, obviously, you got the high spots, and then with Red Dragon, the more kind of technique-based offense from them, if you see what I mean. So for the most of this match, it's like a handicap, trying to isolate the Jurassic Express, and then eventually it breaks down with Red Dragon and the Bucks kind of fighting each other. And oh my goodness, there's so much chaos in this match that it's difficult to call. There were multiple points where, Kyle O'Reilly, my favourite spot, Kyle O'Reilly had a guillotine choke on one of the Jacksons, and then Jungle Boy hit a shooting star press to break it up whilst they were still standing. That was insane. And there were multiple points where I thought that Red Dragon might win it, but ultimately it was the Jurassic Express who got the victory. Again, just a fantastic match. And then we follow it up with a ladder match for a future TNT title match. And this wasn't just like an ordinary kind of spot fest ladder match. This was more kind of based around the powerhouses. So you got Powerhouse Hobbs, Keith Lee and Wardlow. They were the three main attractions in this match. And, credit to Orange Cassidy as well. His comedy spots were quite amusing and they made sense within the whole scheme of the match. And then Wardlow wins the whole thing with a nasty looking powerbomb onto Ricky Starks. I hope that he's kind of okay and not injured. But yeah, Wardlow going to challenge for the TNT title. I don't know if he's going to win though. I think that maybe a certain MJF might cost him that match, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up for the TBS title, it was Jade Cargill and Ty Conti. It was a pretty short match. It didn't really need to be on this card, but that said, it was still decent. I think that Jade Cargill is improving with each match she has, so I'm sure that she's going to break out more moves as the weeks go on in her reign, and I love Ty Conti as well. I thought this match was fine though, it was what it was. It was only 5 minutes, so not really any complaints there, and it was a good little buffer between that and the next match, CM Punk and MJF dog collar match, where CM Punk got bloodied to just crimson mask, blood covering the canvas. So yeah, in a way, this is probably my favourite match. I did think it was a bit slow at points, but that's just my dopamine brain. I need constant high spots, I guess, because I'm stupid Mark like that. But again, the story they told with the chain and the different creative ways they used it was really cool. And then eventually Wardlow finally kind of screwing over MJF and getting his revenge. Just the cherry on top of a great match. And also just CM Punk coming out to his old ROH theme in his ROH gear. I instantly knew what was happening. I don't think the crowd kind of clocked onto it, but really, really cool to see. And it was kind of nostalgic and kind of, a little bit choked up, kind of the kind of nostalgia there related to that run. But you've got, CM Punk in his ROH gear bleeding profusely and finally beats MJF. What a cracking match. Definitely go out your way to check this one out. And, the next match for the AEW Women's title, this is probably the only point in the show where I was a little bit disappointed for a number of reasons. It was difficult for them to follow Punk and MJF. I felt this match also went on a little bit too long for my liking. They did do some nice stuff in this matchup. I don't really even want to fault either of them because it wasn't a bad match, but having to follow all the rest of it, there wasn't really anything to kind of stand out in this one. And the finish, I felt, fell flat. Because, again, Rebel and Jamie interfere, and there's no kind of interference about that, but it's Britt Baker beating Thunder Rosa, and I guess that they're going to have a rematch at St. Patrick's Slam. That's where it kind of was alluded to, so hopefully they have another lights out match where Thunder Rosa wins the Women's Championship, I should say, because it would be poetic to have it 1 year later on from their last encounter. But again, and maybe do the rematch on pay-per-view at Double or Nothing. But I felt like this should have been the night for Thunder Rosa to win because there weren't any title changes, I should say, to speak of in this card. So I feel like this is the point where you probably needed one. The next match, though, oh my God, picked up another gear. Moxley and Bryan Danielson. Good Lord. And also, I forgot to mention, by the way, Swerve is signed to AEW. Oh my God, that guy's got so much charisma. I'm so glad he's in AEW. He was one of my favourites in NXT, and I was looking forward to seeing what he would do on the main roster, but alas, didn't happen. Glad to see him as a single star again. Swerve, absolutely great signing. But Moxley, Bryan beat the piss out of each other, to put it lightly. They bled buckets as they said they would. It was brutal. Again, this is one of the ones where I wanted this match to this is probably my favourite match of the night in many ways. But yeah, I don't know, man. Moxley beat Bryan after a triangle choke where he kind of turned it into a pin, and then that was it for Moxley. They're slapping each other after, they're fighting it out, and then who comes down to ringside but William freaking Regal. William Regal coming down, slapping the hell out of both of them and telling them to shake hands. And it looks like it looks like perhaps Regal will be managing a team between Moxley and Bryan. Oh my God, inject that into my veins. I love William Regal. I love both of these guys. Such a great ending, a great match. And yeah, newer age, two-man power trip, I heard many people say. So a great match. And I thought up next was going to be the main event, but I forgot about the Tornado tag match. So it was like Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Sting against the AHFO. And honestly, I wasn't really expecting much from this going into it. But then once it kind of got underway, it became a really, really fun match and probably one of the funnest matches on this show. It was a spot fest with a bunch of weapons and a lot of crowd brawling, but, I love that kind of stuff personally. I think it's quite entertaining to take it outside the bounds of the ring. Loads of insane spots in this one. A Spanish fly off the stage from Sammy Guevara through a table. You also had Sting with a dive off the balcony through like 3 tables. That was insane. And then eventually Darby Allin hitting the coffin drop on Matt Hardy to win. Will Jeff Hardy show up on Dynamite? That's the main question. A lot of people think he will, but there's also rumours about contract tampering going on, whole lot of legal cluster going on there with the Jeff Hardy situation, but I hope he shows up in AEW. And to the people saying that it got a bloated roster, I don't personally think that's the case. I think that they use everyone effectively, and now that they've got Ring of Honor under their belt, I think that they can continue to kind of put people in that territory as like a developmental and help that out. So yeah, and I will talk about ROH shortly after this because that was a big thing that dropped this week. And then finally we had the main event. We had Hangman Adam Page beating Adam Cole for the AEW World Title. Again, a great match. Adam Cole, I think it was like Halo inspired gear. I'm not much of a gamer, I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, a lot of the majority of the early part of this match was the crowd amusing themselves, which I'll be honest, I found very funny. I found it entertaining. And it wasn't the kind of crowd noise that kind of took you out of the match, because there was a point later on, which I'll get to, where it kind of crescendoed. But yeah, they're chanting, let's go Adam, Adam sucks, we want Adam, and like fight for Adam, like all these different variations of the Adam chant, because they're both called Adam, get it? But one of the points in the match where I thought it really picked up was when the fans started chanting, let's go Hangman Adam Cole, and they actually like got properly into it, which I thought that was great. But a fantastic, solid main event. A lot of interference at the end where I was like, I don't know about this. A bit of a cluster. But again, Hangman finally hitting the buckshot and winning the title. And I did hear a couple of boos for Hangman. Now, I'm not too sure if it's because the fans are turning on Hangman, which I hope not, because that would be very, very fickle. Or just because Adam Cole is from Florida and the event was in Florida, that they might have been more on his side. But either way, I'm still on the Hangman train. I think he's got many title defenses left in him. But again, like from top to bottom, great card. William Regal, like the highlight of the night for me to go in there, and just such a cool show. Go out of your way to watch it. Please, please, please. I will briefly touch on the other wrestling news. So we've got news that like Cody Rhodes isn't necessarily knocked in for WWE. Things seem to have fallen apart, and if I were Cody at this point, probably take a long time away from the business, spend time with your family, take a break, because the guy's been working pretty hard recently over the past couple of years with AEW, so I think he's earned the break. But him not being in WWE, I'm not watching the product, so it doesn't really bother me. But I think that if they did lowball him with an offer, then I think that's a stupid move on WWE's part. I think they really need a guy like Cody right now to drum up interest. Speaking of WrestleMania's card, it's looking fine. We've got some really cool matches on the cards, like Edge versus AJ Styles, and obviously the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match. And now Ricochet is the Intercontinental Champion. Will he defend it on the show? Hopefully he will. But again, nothing really too exciting on this card, in my opinion. Other than, alright, and I will defend this, okay, Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. One of my dream matches. I want to see, because Sami Zayn is a great performer, as is Johnny Knoxville, and, I love Jackass and all that kind of thing. So, this is a match where I just want to see how they kind of work around it. It's a celebrity kind of throwaway match, if you see what I mean, but again, it's one that I'm looking forward to, if out of any on the card. But what other wrestling news are there? Well, we've got the purchase of ROH by Tony Khan, and I won't talk about this at length because so many other people have, but I think this is great for Ring of Honor because it's given them, I think it'll will probably help them boost a little bit because Tony Khan will be wanting to promote it more on Dynamite and kind of on their platforms. I think that Ring of Honor has been in kind of a bit stale over the past couple of years, and I think this is what's needed to really invigorate some life into it. Like a reboot might be ideal, and you've got all that history there where you can send like a Punk or a Bryan back down there to kind of develop the newer stars in AEW, but also give them kind of a spotlight. And how the creative works there, I'm not too sure at the moment, but it is exciting. Me personally, I'm excited to see it. And I think this will help ROH. I am looking forward to Supercard of Honor because you've got Gresham versus Bandido in the main event, as well as Swerve versus Alex Zayn, and a bunch of other cool matches on the cards there. So that is a show which I probably will be purchasing and watching over WrestleMania, actually, because I don't think I'll be watching WrestleMania this year. But Supercard looks cool, and hopefully we'll see what happens with the AEW ROH relationship, since Tony Khan now owns both, and we'll see how that develops over the next few weeks and months. But I've talked a lot about AEW Revolution, and obviously my wrestler and match of the week are going to be from that show, based on that show. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about my match of the week first, which has to be the dog collar match. I was thinking about the tag title match as well, but I think the dog collar match just had everything in it. You had the bloody kind of brutality of it, as well as the kind of storyline aspect where, in a great segment on Dynamite between the two too. So I think, MJF and CM Punk definitely match of the night at a Revolution, and my match of the week. In terms of my wrestler of the week, if I'm not going to give him the match of the week, I'm going to give him wrestler of the week. It's Eddie Kingston, man. The crowd was on fire. He was probably one of the most over people at Revolution, and it showed. And to finally beat Chris Jericho and finally win a big match for once, I think it's great for Eddie Kingston. Push him to the moon. He is fantastic. Love Eddie, and I love his kind of demeanor, his attitude, his style in the ring, just the way he conducts himself and his mannerisms. Oh man, everything about this guy is money, and it's baffling that he's 38 because you feel like he should have been used more in a high-profile spot months and years before this. But great to see Eddie Kingston thriving now on professional wrestling primetime TV, baby. But now we're coming into the closing moments of the podcast, where I'll give you my NLW updates, my Patreon shoutouts, and answer my question of the week. So first of all, NLW updates. The schedule for this week is as follows. Today, Metal Wrestling is going to be revealing, yesterday, if you're watching this on the YouTube, if you're watching on the Patreon, it will be today. Then Metal Wrestling's first episode, those announcements, all the matches, the roster, everything, that's been announced already. This Wednesday, it's NLW 24/7 Fight Club, which you won't want to miss. It's Brock Lesnar versus Taz in the main event. We also have NLW Turbo on NLW Figs on Thursday, headlined by Kushida and Tetsuya Naito. Then this Saturday, it'll be NLW 102 in Houston, Texas. Nearly forgot the name of the city there, where it will have Kane versus The Undertaker, with one leg, mind you, in a casket match. And next Monday, I'm also hoping to get out a finale for Raw and SmackDown Rebooked. As I was saying earlier, I want to kind of get what I filmed and wrap it up in a neat little bow. So the finale of that will be next Monday, fingers crossed. And as for what's coming up in the future, who knows? Metal is coming around the start of April. I forget what the exact date is, but as I said, you can go and watch the video that I put up on the main channel to find out the date of Metal Wrestling's first official episode under the reboot and under Stone Cold Steve Austin. But we'll get to the Patreon shoutouts quickly now. I know a couple of you aren't patrons anymore, but I still want to give you a shout out nonetheless. Thank you to my Patreon supporters: Clarence Morris III, John, Cringe God, Remy Montoya, Anthony Hill, Brady Babcock, Brandon Furman, Casey Hellskull, Cupid, Devin Dowlin, Flynn Lampkin, Cameron Joyner, PTW Animations, Ryan McCarthy, ES Productions, and Outros World. Thank you all for being patrons. If you want to become a patron and get access to a bunch of exclusive content and exclusive shows, head over to my Patreon. The link is in the description. But we'll close out on a question, and my question of the week comes from the Gunner Ace Andrews, and it is: why did you create Metal/Metal Wrestling? Now, a couple of years ago, I was binge watching ECW Hardcore TV and Sunday Night Heat at the same time, and I felt like just having the standard NLW episode format was limiting me creatively. And the reason I started Metal was because it would give me something extra to do. I think the first 7 episodes of Metal I filmed all in one go, and I released them over the course of 6 months. I was well ahead of the game back then. But the reason I created Metal was to just kind of open creative possibilities and have feature wrestlers that I wouldn't normally feature on the main show, and also create kind of like a Sunday Night Heat SmackDown type hybrid with like kind of ECW hardcore TV mixed in. It would be a little bit grittier, a little bit more hardcore, a bit edgier, and I had that as the kind of secondary show for a number of years. And I also wanted to do pre-shows for pay-per-view, so that's what Metal served as for a while. And then it kind of grew into its own separate brand, like a Raw or a SmackDown, and now it's its own company. And like the differences aren't obvious on the surface, but I just wanted to have two separate shows which had kind of a similar kind of style, but different things about them that made them unique, such as specific kind of styles of wrestlers and stuff like that. That's why on Metal you've got brawlers like Samoa Joe and Edge and Jon Moxley, whereas on NLW you've got the more kind of high-flying wrestlers like Omega and the Bucks. So kind of a different philosophy of wrestling, as well as an opportunity to kind of have stories developed on another show and across multiple different weeks and months, whatever, because I felt like just having storylines on the main NLW show was quite limiting, but I also wanted to develop some stuff a little bit further outside of that on Metal. So that's why it kind of acted as a Sunday Night Heat in the beginning, like a WWE Superstars or a main event, that kind of thing, and then progress into this big SmackDown type show where it's like a second brand and now it's its own company. So that is why I created Metal Wrestling. I hope that has answered your question, but alas, that is all from me at this time. Let me know what you thought of the podcast in the comments below, and also comment down below any questions you've got for future podcasts. I'll be welcoming Davy and Pickfed Lonely hopefully next week. Cringe God hopefully will be talking with me next week on the podcast if we can arrange like a time to talk about Fight Club, which by then will have been uploaded to the YouTube. As for everything else, I should say, like the video if you enjoyed the podcast, and subscribe to NLW Figs for more wrestling figure content. That's it from me. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you guys later.